so we talked about vaccines, we talked about the food element of it. Can you talk a little bit about cosmetics? Like I said, we did an ebook on the whole subject, which I'll link for our viewers if they're interested in learning more about it. But can you talk a little bit about the use of aborted fetal tissue in cosmetics and what's going on there?
Um, there's it's very difficult to know for sure
Okay. Why?
because that's relatively unregulated. Um, so to the extent that we know anything is because the manufacturers themselves tell us. And um, there's a company in particular called Neocutis that is kind of the Sonomics of the cosmetics world,
Hmm.
where they make no bones about it. They openly disclose it. On one hand, it's kind of sad that people think that's no big deal. On the other hand, I I appreciate their honesty,
Hmm.
because are there other people that are using fetal tissue in ways that we don't know about? Yes, absolutely. Because they're not compelled to tell us, and they're not going to tell us because they expect it to be bad for business.
Is it unregulated? Like, so I'm guessing that what happens with drugs and medication that you said you can find it, and with food is that's all regulated because of like the Food and Drug Administration or the science along those lines, but then cosmetics aren't regulated. Is that why they aren't obliged to tell us?
Um, that's essentially correct. It's to the degree that they're regulated. There is the FDA does keep tabs on, generally speaking, cosmetics and personal healthcare products, but not to the degree that they look at medications. Um, those are two entirely different things. So what they're interested in is content of prohibited materials, safety. Is the labeling correct? Those sorts of things.
Okay.
In terms of how you made this hand cream, exactly. Please, we're busy enough. Don't bother us with that. So, it's not quite the wild, wild west, but it's much more the wild, wild west than medicine certainly and Neocutis uses proteins that that were ultimately sourced from an aborted fetus in a number of their what do they call it? Age-defying creams and that sort of thing, wrinkle creams and those. And for skin repair and to improve somebody's youth, or to create a youthful appearance, because human cells taught him something, I guess. That's what makes these aborted and these aborted and exploited children valuable to medical science and commerce. It's their very humanity. Now, for all of the people that say, "What are you worried about? It's just a clump of cells," no, you can't own both sides of the argument. The only reason they're used is because they're human. So that argument is over. Um, and if you ask a microbiologist that question, why are fetal cell lines so important? That is the answer that he will give you. It may not be quite that clear, but it all comes down to they're human. Their very humanity is why they're important to their work.